Hey guys, what's up? It's IG on the Disposablegorilla channel, and it looks as though Agent of Doubt has removed his head from his girlfriend's cleavage long enough to take a breath and decided to do a video response to the video response I did, a while back about the Christian undertones or overtones or what have you in his supposed radio station's purely secular radio station. And first off, while there are Christian radio stations, I don't think there really is such a thing as a secular radio station. Radio stations are owned by private organizations where they're in business to make money. And if a song is popular and it gets people to listen to that station and they can sell more advertising space, they're going to do so. Whether or not it's a Christian band or a satanic band or what have you, if that music fits into the genre or fits into the category of music to who they're playing for, they're going to play those songs for their audience. Now, a lot of radio stations have agreements with record labels and whatnot, and that's how you get, crappy songs on the radio that they play over and over and over again. You try and boost record sales. But that's, I think, a little bit more rare these days. I think now what you hear on the radio is driven by record sales. So his, grievance about Christianity being infiltrated or infiltrating his secular radio station, I think is paranoia on his part. Maybe I'm wrong, but from what I can tell, and I've listened to a number of different radio stations that don't have, the claim to being, Christian rock or gospel music. You get a wide variety of artists, and that's something else. Is that just because an artist or a member of a band or a few members of the bands identify with being a Christian, that doesn't automatically make the band a Christian band. And later on in this video, he talks about how, and he's mistaken, by the way, about how the vocalist from Volbeat says, no, it's not a Christian thing. Well, number one, he wasn't asked whether it was a Christian song. He was asked by the interviewer what was the inspiration for that song, because that song was getting a lot of radio play and is becoming a popular song, and that's what interviewers do, is they will ask the artist, well, what's the motivation for writing that song? And I believe wholeheartedly that if indeed that song was inspired by his faith in Christ, that's what he would have said. But he didn't. He explained that that song is about the passing of his father, and there are other songs in previous records where he does identify the spirit of his father as an eagle and kind of a guiding spirit or a guiding animal to him. And now, personally, number one, so he wasn't denying that it was a Christian song because he wasn't asked that directly in the interview. He was explaining the connection between the eagle and him being lost, and that's what the song is really about. And like I said, there's a song called Fallen, or The Fallen, on a previous album that does the same kind of thing. It talks about his love for his father, and he does this this comparison to an eagle. So if anything, it's more of a pagan point of view than a Christian one. So I don't know that Volbeat are Christian or not. But I have a feeling that if they were asked that directly, they'd be honest about it. Because there are a lot of bands that are very honest and open about their music being Christian. Now, to respond to the accusation that bands are deceptive, that they don't want to be associated with, crappy bands like Creed, and I agree, Creed's a crappy band. They had a couple of popular songs, and it's just not good music. I don't care what it's about. It's just I don't care for it. It's not good. And I think that's the real issue here. I mean, is the music good or not? Whether or not it's motivated by Christian spirituality or Christian ethics or motives, I think is totally beside the point. I think if the music is good, then the music is good. But to respond to the whole, being deceptive, I don't think that the bands really have to worry about being compared to bands that are crappy that call themselves Christian bands. There are actually a number of heavy metal Christian bands that are pretty good, and I don't like them because of the Christian overtones in the music, and I don't dislike other bands because of the lack of Christian overtones in the music. It doesn't bother me whether the lyrics are religiously structured or not. It just doesn't bother me. And you think that it would. You think as a Christian, I would be more sensitive to stuff like that, more sensitive to, evil stuff or stuff about the devil or stuff about, other secular things that go against what I believe in. But for some reason, it doesn't bother me at all. For some reason, if it's a good song, then I can enjoy the song and not get irritated to the point where I have to make two ramble videos now, complaining about, why is there devil music, in my secular radio, on my secular radio station, right? Anyhow. So, this whole aversion to what Agent of Doubt calls the Jesus in his music, I think is purely motivated by his own emotional bias. And I've said this over and over again. He has this bias against Christianity, and he shows it over and over and over again. And it's no doubt because of childhood memories, that he doesn't care for, and perhaps things that happened as a child, and his relationship with his parents or whatnot, and that's fine. But don't you think that it's time to let go of that stuff? And if it's a good song, Mike, it's a good song. If like a good example is the link that you left on the Devour the Day song. That's a pretty good song. And yes, I would agree with you. That song has a very Christian message to it. I would agree. It does. But it's a good song. I mean, it doesn't suck. And I think that's why you're upset, is because the song's actually good, but their lyrics are about something that they just strike this nerve with you, that irritate you. And that's too bad. It's too bad that your aversion to Christianity is so deeply rooted that you can't even enjoy a good rock song. Now, if that isn't being controlled by your aversions, I don't know what is. I mean, that's one of the biggest complaints that atheists have towards religious people, is that the claim is that we are so driven by our aversions and by the things that we disagree with. It's, we're so negative about, various things that it controls our lives. Well, isn't that exactly what you're letting your disdain for Christianity do? Keep you from enjoying a good song about wanting to be a better person and asking God to help you be a better person? And to respond to your statement about, well, why not sing about the flower or the sunset? Well, Christian bands do that. Secular bands do that. It's not really the issue. I think one of the common themes in humanity is this desire to be better the next day than the day before, to be a better man, just like that song. You know, this is a common theme. And I think a lot of people identify with it. And that's why that song is good. Not only is it good musically, but it's got a good message, and people can identify with it. And that's what music is really about. I'm sorry you're among this minority of people who want no religious speak whatsoever in their music because it reminds you of your childhood. But most of us believe in God, or are not bothered by the belief in God, and can identify with this searching, can identify with wanting to be better and looking to God for guidance. You know, it's just really too bad that you're so adverse to this that you're going to point the finger at bands and say they're being deceptive. And here's a point on that. I think a band that has Christian members in it and may have a song or two that are Christian in nature, they'll deny being a Christian band, because once you come out and say that you are a Christian band, well then a lot of people are going to hold you to a certain standard when it comes to your music and your message. And maybe these guys don't want to be held to that standard. Maybe it has nothing to do with the association of Christian music being crappy. Maybe it's that they just want to express themselves freely and not feel like they have to be held to some standard by the Christian community. I've been in a number of bands where, you know, half the band was atheist and half the band was Christian, you know, and we talked about, you know, well, what kind of topics and subject matter, and some of the atheists were like, well, yeah, let's, you know, maybe we should come out as a Christian band as a marketing thing. And I'm like, well, number one, that's dishonest. Number two, that would hold us to a higher standard. And number three, you know, why, you know, you're not Christian. Why would you want to be a part of a Christian message? And it was like the opposite of what you were saying. You know, so I think that, and also a good point is the band As They Lay Dying. You know, they claim to be this Christian band. But as it turns out, it was discovered later on that the band was no longer Christian, and they were just using the Christian label to continue to sell records to their established audience. It was dishonest. So, again, I don't think that Christian musicians have an obligation to say that they're Christian musicians, nor do they have to be in a Christian band. They should be able to express themselves freely and openly. And if the fact that they're Christian or they're religious or they're spiritual bothers you so much, turn off your radio, put in a CD,